Every morning, Emma would wake up to the gentle sound of birds singing in her backyard. It was never just noise to her. It felt like a living melody, a soft chorus that welcomed the sun and painted the air with warmth. The sparrows, the robins, the tiny fluttering wings, each one had its place in that quiet, peaceful routine. But one day, the birds were gone, no sound, no movement, just silence, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like something is missing, but you can't quite explain what. Emma stood by her window, listening carefully, hoping to catch even the faintest chirp. But there was nothing, just the soft rustle of leaves and the distant whisper of the wind. What happened to them? Welcome to Backyard Bird Mysteries. Today, we follow a strange and quiet story. A backyard that once felt alive, now standing still. A missing flock, and a mystery waiting to be understood. Emma had always loved birds. It wasn't just a hobby for her, it was something deeper. Every morning, she would step outside with a small bowl of seeds in her hands, her eyes scanning the branches as if greeting old friends. She knew their habits, their timing, even their tiny personalities, and among them there was one she loved the most. A small sparrow she named Sky. Sky wasn't like the others. While most birds would rush in and out, Sky would stay a little longer. He would tilt his head, observing everything around him as if he was trying to understand the world in his own quiet way. Sometimes, he would land closer than the others, almost as if he trusted Emma. He was always the first to arrive. But today, Sky didn't come. Emma stepped outside that morning, holding the same bowl of seeds. The air felt different, cooler. Still, she scattered the seeds gently near the feeder and waited and waited. Her eyes moved from the feeder to the tree, from the tree to the fence, from the fence to the open sky above, but the sky was empty. Where did they all go? She whispered softly. The feeder was full. The branches were still. Everything looked exactly the same. Except the birds were missing. It didn't make sense. Birds didn't just disappear. Not like this. Not all at once. She stayed there for a while longer, hoping it was just a delay. Maybe they would come late today. Maybe something small had changed. But deep down, she felt something wasn't right. Later that day, Emma began to notice things she hadn't paid attention to before. The backyard wasn't just quiet. It felt lifeless. There were fewer insects around. Usually, tiny movements filled the grass. Little buzzing sounds, subtle signs of life hidden in plain sight. But now, there was nothing. No buzzing, no fluttering, no movement in the grass. Even the air felt heavier. Emma walked slowly across the lawn, her steps careful, her eyes searching. She knelt down and touched the grass. It felt slightly dry, not as fresh as it had been just days before. Then she looked up. The sky had changed. Dark clouds were beginning to gather in the distance, slowly spreading like a quiet warning. The wind picked up just enough to move the leaves, creating a soft, uneasy sound. It was subtle, but it was there. Could the birds have noticed this before she did? Could they have sensed something coming? That thought stayed with her. Birds had instincts far sharper than humans. They didn't need forecasts or warnings. They could feel changes in the air, shifts in pressure, signals that most people would never notice. Maybe they hadn't disappeared, maybe they had left. The next morning, Emma stepped outside again. The silence was still there, unchanged, almost echoing now. She walked closer to the fence, her eyes scanning every corner of the yard, and then she saw it. A shadow moved quickly. It was fast, subtle, almost easy to miss. But Emma noticed. She froze, her breath slowing as she focused on the spot near the wooden fence. For a moment, everything was still again. Then it appeared. A cat, half hidden behind the fence, its body low, its eyes fixed on the yard. Watching, waiting. Emma's heart sank slightly. It made sense now. Birds are careful, more careful than people realize. They don't wait to see danger clearly. They react to the smallest hint of it. A predator doesn't need to attack to cause fear. Its presence alone is enough. The cat had probably been there for days. Quiet, patient, observing. And the birds, they had noticed long before Emma ever did. Maybe you scared them away, she whispered under her breath. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't that simple, because birds don't just run. They survive, they move, they adapt, they find safer places. Maybe they didn't disappear. Maybe they escaped. Days passed. The backyard remained quiet. Each morning, Emma would still bring out seeds, placing them gently near the feeder. It had become a habit she couldn't break, a small act of hope repeated over and over again. But nothing changed. The wind came and went. The clouds shifted. The light faded and returned. Still, no birds. The silence started to feel normal. And that was the strangest part of all, until one morning, something changed. It was faint at first, so soft that Emma almost thought she imagined it. A small sound. Chirp. She looked up instantly, her eyes scanning the tree, the fence, the sky, then again, chirp, chirp. This time, she was sure. Her heart lifted as she searched for the source. And then she saw him, Sky perched on the edge of the feeder, calm and still, as if he had never left. Emma smiled, a quiet sense of relief washing over her. "You came back," she said softly. But Sky wasn't alone. One by one, other birds began to appear. From the tree, from the sky, from places she hadn't even thought to look. They returned carefully at first, observing, watching, just like Sky always did. Then slowly, they came closer. The feeder that had been untouched for days was suddenly alive again. Wings fluttered. Soft chirps filled the air. Movement returned to the yard. Life returned. They hadn't left forever. They had just moved away, waiting, watching, choosing the right moment to come back. Emma stood quietly, taking it all in. This time, she understood something she hadn't before. Birds don't just disappear without reason. They move when they need to. They adapt when things change. They survive in ways that often go unnoticed. What felt like a mystery was actually a decision, a silent, instinctive choice to stay safe. Sometimes, the silence in a backyard isn't empty. It's a message, a warning that something has changed, a reminder that nature is always aware, always responding, even when we don't see it. Emma watched as Sky hopped closer, tilting his head the same way he always did. Curious, observing, present. She smiled again, but this time, it was different. This time, she understood, the birds were never truly gone. They were just protecting themselves. And maybe, they had been watching her too. If you listen closely, your backyard might tell you stories like this. Quiet stories, hidden ones, the kind you only notice when something changes. So the next time the birds go silent, don't just wonder where they went. Ask yourself, what made them leave, and when they return, you'll know. The mystery was never about disappearance. It was always about survival. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more backyard mysteries. And tell me, have your backyard birds ever disappeared suddenly?